This is Dirshu Mishnah Berurah, Simin Yud Gimel, Sif Gimel, as we conclude Simin Yud Gimel, the halachos of wearing tzitzis on Shabbos, or more particularly the halachos when the tzitzis become puzzle, what you're supposed to do with them on Shabbos. And all the learning has been generously sponsored by a close friend of the Daf, the Zecher Nishmas, their father, Chaim Mordechai ben Naftali Tzvi, and Mir Tashem, the learning of the entire Chabura should bring Chaim Mordechai ben Naftali Tzvi to an higher and higher place in Gan Eden Shalmaila. Every halacha, kol Hashem halacha b'cholim muftach lo shehu ben olam haba. Mirat Hashem Chaim Mordechai ben Naftali Tzvi should go higher and higher in olam haba as well. Says the Mechaber Sif Gimel im noida loy beShabbos kishu bekarmelish adal shalav basel. If they tell you on Shabbos, or you realize that the talis that you're wearing, and today we're going to go into the nitty gritty, is it a talis gadol, is it a talis katan? Are you wearing other clothing? Is it a karmelis, and is it a rabbanon? Is it a daraisa? What's going on over here? Says the Mechab, if you find out on Shabbos, while you're in a karmelis, which you know carrying in a karmelis is an issa derabanan, that the talis that you're wearing is basel, lo yasirenu me'alav. You do not have to take it off right away because it's only an issa derabanan. So still, you're not going to be over derabanan ad until, as we turn over the page over here that says ad shiagia lebeisai, until you reach your house. Why? It's an issa derabanan. The gadol kavod abrius. Big klal in all of halacha. Kavod abrius. We care about people. We care about your feelings. We care about the fact you're going to be walking around undressed in the street. So if you're in a derabanan place of carrying, you don't have to get undressed. And of course, the simplest understanding is referring to that you're wearing like a toga, that your clothing is a talis, is a four-cornered garment. And if you take it off, it's quite embarrassing. You're in the middle of the street, not wearing any clothing. So it says the Mechaber, if the place that you're standing is only an Isser Derabanan, you don't have to get undressed because Gadol Kavod Abrius. Says the Ramah, startling statement. Va'afilu talis katan shetachas bigado v'in tzarich lifshait. A talis katan under your clothing, like I'm wearing right now. No one sees it, and if I were to take it off, I don't know what's the big deal. Says the Ramah, you don't have to. Buadin, and similarly, in this so din number one of the Ramah we have to understand. Din number two of the Ramah. And similarly, if one of the strings ripped and you're embarrassed, you're in shul, and you don't want to sit there without your talis on, you're allowed to put on the talis, do the kavod abrius. Din number two of the Ramah. And the Ramah concludes that Davko beShabbos this tzitzis. So all din is only on Shabbos, and you can't get new tzitzis. It's going to be forbidden. So let's go back and let's understand this din. And one of the reasons why this is extremely crucial is because this is one of the big sources of kavod abrius and all the rules that apply. So we start off with the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Ches that says you find it on Shabbos while you're in a karmelis, a place that's also to carry the rabbanon. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Ches b'Shabbos v'im yoidea me'esmol v'shochach, a very critical word. Lato bo tzitzis. You knew yesterday that your tzitzis were puzzle, and you forgot. And you put on those tzitzis on Shabbos. And now, middle of the street, where it's a karmelis, you realize, oh shoot, I'm wearing those tzitzis. Nira says the Mishnah Berurah, Gam kein lo yikan sinle. We don't kenas you. And rather, you're allowed to keep on wearing it. Over here, we're seeing a big chiddush that we're not going to kenas you because you forgot. If you purposely didn't put on tzitzis and you wore that bagging on Shabbos, we tell you have to take it off, even though you're only in a karmelis, a place of carrying the rabbanon. But because over here, you forgot, therefore you retain your heter to wear this in a place of carrying the rabbanon. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Tes, Kishu bekarmelis, who makam, and explains the Mishnah Berurah, who makam sheshamin is a total rak midrabanan. Carrying in such an area is only an issa d'Rabbanan. Lekach ein zarich lahasir. Therefore, you don't have to take it off. Why? They kavod abrius daiche issa d'Rabbanan, and that line is one of the big sources that gadol kavod abrius it's daiche and issa d'Rabbanan. And now explains the Mishnah Berurah coming to answer up a kasha from the Magen Avraham. Va'afal gav the tzitzis mitzvah say daraisa. 1 minute. Wearing tzitzis is a mitzvah asay daraisa. So maybe carrying the tzitzis when they're puzzle should be a bittul of an asay daraisa. So maybe it's not a darabanan. Udaraisa lo dachinim they kavod abrius, and we're not allowed to push away a daraisa because of kavod abrius. Says the Mishnah Berurah mikol makom shari. Why? It's a very important Mishnah Berurah. The Torah doesn't say don't wear a beged without tzitzis. Rak mitzvahs asay lahatel by tzitzis. The Torah says we have a positive commandment to wear tzitzis. Therefore, you're not being over the asay. Benolav rak iser. Dirabanan, and it's only an Issa Dirabanan. Which, of course, the obvious implication is in a scenario where you could put on tzitzis and you don't, then you are being mavatel the mitzvahs asay. But of course, we don't have time to discuss this right now. We know it's a mitzvah kiyumis, which is a different level. It's not like you didn't make kiddush on Shabbos. It's a mitzvah kiyumis, and we're not going to get into it right now. Avul b'rshus harabim shumin ha'toira. Says Mishnah Berurah, if you're in Rosh Hashanah Daraisa, a place where 600,000 Jews go, a place of Sheishat Yamais, a place that's a Daraisa to carry, I don't care, says Mishnah Berurah. Now, I don't care, we care a lot, we feel bad. But if you're in such a place and you're wearing a four-corner toga, and by taking it off, maybe you're going to be wearing no clothing, a credible case, you still are obligated to take it off. Why are you obligated to take it off, says Mishnah Berurah? It's an Issa Daraisa. Va'afilu im yisher o imid arom al yedei zeh. Rachmana litzlan, in the middle of Avenue J, you're going to be, which we'll see in a moment, maybe that is accurate, maybe that isn't accurate, but you're going to be standing there stark naked. Says Mishnah Berurah, I feel bad, but that's the halacha. Shein kavod abriyas deichisa daraisa gazeh. Kavod abriyas is not deichanisa daraisa. B'chol gavni in all cases. Well, come on, b'chashavas mitzvah Hashem yizbar dish machlekes imzad is eishon din dershas ram malai, and that is what I was referring to. Is that we are going to see in Eretz Hashem in Shabbos? It's not so pashut if there's a din dershas ram daraisa nowadays. Venira and but just to parenthetically point out, the Ramosha the Tshuva writes that it is an Issa Daraisa. It could be the Mishnah Berurah just saying that in general, the areas that he was, there is no Rosh Hashanah Daraisa. But of course, if there's a place with the klalim, with the rules, the 600,000 Jews, the 16 Amos, then it would be Rosh Hashanah Daraisa. But we'll leave that for now. Something we spoke about yesterday, that if the issue is only in the anaf, only in the strings at the end, but the gedil, the other parts are okay, says the Mishnah Berurah, remember yesterday we learned the Shitas Hari, so you don't have to get it right away. Rather, just go home very, very fast. We'll see Dirshu note number 12 in one moment. But says the Mishnah Berurah that when you're in a Carmelis, you realize that it is possible. Whether the corner ripped off and it's only three corners, or one of the strings ripped off, and even if it was possible, as we said, when you leave your house, since when you put it on you didn't know, like we said before, the gadol covered habrius. Va'afilu b'talis gadol shalanu, even our talis says gadolai she'inanu noigin lilbaish, that we are not noig to wear oisai kol hayoim ella be'iz atfilu l'shem mitzvah. What's the big deal to take it off? You're wearing your talis on top of your clothing. Gam kain, a startling statement in Zarglas Hirai, till I plug Rabbanam in Talis Latalis. Can we keep with Lishma Fak with that? And that's not so simple. That's a big chiddush if you think about it. I understand you're wearing a toga. If you take it off, you're going to be in the middle of the street, in the middle of a carmelis, without any clothing. But to say that on your talis on top of your clothing, says Mishnah Berurah, like plug of Kiveger, is mefakfek. The psak of the Mishnah Berurah, as we see over here, is not readily clear. Mishnah Berurah doesn't use his general avol. He doesn't, give an ironclad psak over here. Seems like he's wavering between the two. It seems like there's makaim. We'll call it makkah to be mekel, makaim to be machmer. For one moment, let's just go back and see Dirshu note number 12, which we do not have. We do not have note number 12. I don't know why we do not have note number 12. Wait, here it is. Yes, we do. Baruch Hashem, we have note number 12. Says Dirshu, note number 12 over here. Explains the Dirshu that what's the Mishnah Berurah meaning? Le'isr deraisa shu b'kum v'aseh. like we were explaining that tzitzis is a little bit different. Like the Sharatzian says that this is because it's a daraisa of kum be'asei. Now let's go back. Let's get our bearings over here straight. Yes, let's go back and let's finish up. Says Mishnah Berurah, Sivkatan Yod Aleph. What about our talisas ketanim that you're wearing underneath your clothing? No one will know. To take it off in the middle of the street is Genai B'Yoser. Obviously, we see from over here, this is a tznius, this is a sensitivity that the Mishnah Berurah is saying in the middle of the street, start pulling out your tzitzis. That's a Genai B'Yoser. I believe that one could suggest that if it's not a Genai B'Yoser, if someone doesn't mind to take off his talis katan in the middle of the street, l'chayr, you would not have this out there. And of course, she gives a little bit of a sensitivity to the levels of tznius, perhaps, that are required. But we'll mention, like we said back in the beginning of, Siman Aleph through Dalet over there from Ramesha, that everything depends upon the society. Minat Tzitzis Sivkatan Yud Beis, the Ramah continued and he said that you're embarrassed to sit in shul without a talis. Pirush, Bein Shabbat, basically, a little bit of talis. Whether you come to shul and you want to put on your talis, before you put it on, you find your tzitzis puzzle. Talis, the Matalav Shabli Bracha, put on without a bracha. Because you're embarrassed to sit in shul out of talis. Or whether you're in the middle and you realize that they're puzzled, you do not have to take it off. Like we pointed out, if you're not embarrassed, you're not going to have the satir of kavod abriyas. I know the time is late, but just for one moment to look at Dirshu over here. Note number 17, he brings up an interesting point. What about the fact, is it muksa or not? Because if you have a talis val tzitzis, should it be muksa? The Shevet HaLevi comes along and says, no, it is not muksa. Why? Because even without tzitzis, it's right to wear it. If you lend it to someone else, because he won't have the chiv to put on tzitzis, and even himself, there are ways that you're able to wear it, and therefore the garment itself will not be muksa. Perhaps you could also suggest that this garment has other usages, as we've mentioned already, that the garment is not davar shabikdusha, tzitzis themselves, but let's leave that for now and let's go back. Also, we'll point out again, many of our shuls, we have extra talisim, so what's the big deal? You just put on someone else's talis, or you'll borrow the shul's talis. Maybe it's Nagea. I was thinking, sitting here in a hotel, there aren't extra talisim, maybe that would be the case. Or if you'd be embarrassed to without a talis, perhaps that could be one of the examples, but again, I don't know. I guess, and the Mishnah Berurah said, it's totally in each and every person. If you know before Shabbos, also live Shabbos, you know that wear it. You should have fixed it yesterday. As we saw already in the beginning of today's year, there's room to be mekel. As we just pointed out, it's only if you can't borrow a talis. Pira says Mishmur Shivkot and Tezvav. Lefi Shabbos, that's a rock. It's the Rabbanin canal. Avol bechol shu'ayver aliser tayir shechol sha'adu say by tzitzis comes out that because on Shabbos you can't fix it. It's not an Issa Daraisa. It's only an Issa Darabanan. It's better. But during the week, when you're over on Issa Daraisa at every moment, this is a Torah. I feel like Issa the Sheva al Tasik mitzvah. Even though you're only refraining yourself from getting this mitzvah Daraisa, is not pushed away. Emloi beginai gadol. Ulachain says Mishnah Berurah, the first wide line. Also, little boy sadalj gadol kisharaya shein by tzitzis. You're not allowed to put on if you see he has no tzitzis. The leishe v'lihi talis svir leila ramah durak bichlal kanai katan to sit without your talis in shul. Mishnah Berurah is making levels. Is a lower level genai. V'cheinim naideloi versus ram kishu oilich b'loi talis gadol shnifzle acham mitziyosef. Tzarich gamkin lefashte teikef. Why, says Mr. Berurah, like we spoke about, it's a lower level. So this is like the balance. Even though we said you're wearing your talis gadol on top of your clothing, so therefore you would say, what's the big deal? Take it off. It's true, but it's still some level of genai. You're putting it on and you find out if you don't have to take it off right away. Why? It's a higher level ganai to take off your talis in middle of shul. You go home and take it off. Go to a little side room. You have shenu sham. Says Chayodam, no. Which I'm sure everyone is wondering, what's the big deal? People think of the talisim all the time. What's the big deal? And it says, I found the Pri Megadim, the Tzitzis, giving a lot of credence to this Chayodam. Al Kain tells Mishabura, what should you do? 3 lines on the bottom of this Amud. Do the Eitzah that's written there. Shiavki Renu, very interesting Eitzah. Make your talis hefker. Does patam not tzitzis? If it's hefker enough, put tzitzis on it, and then when you get home, sheila bezi after this case, boy, a very interesting heter, because we'll call it between a rack and a hard place. Therefore, and the Dirshu points out in number 20 that this is only sheikh is davkim musachol. Because on Shabbos you're not allowed to be mafkir it, and Rav Kiva Eiger points this out as well. But therefore, that would be the Eitzah. What would the Eitzah be? To be mafkir the talis, and therefore, get out of the issue of taking off your talis in the middle of shul. Again, I think if someone feels that they don't even understand this, and they say it's not a genai bechlal, what's the big deal at all? There's different levels, genai gadol, genai katan, and no genai at all. It would seem like that would be, of course, the right thing to do. Says Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Tezayin, also Ayin Magamon Shemazik Damasha Machmer Amah Becholo Kayal Mashkos Betchila Filu B'Talis Katan. He's not going on the case of Talis Katan. The B'Talis Katan him know that it's psulim. Again, you see their levels of tznius. It's a genai gadol, start taking off your talis katan in public. You do not have to take it off. Let's finish up over here. Why? This is a line that we haven't seen yet. When you have a daraisa that you're doing a passive daraisa, you could be doicha with a genai gadol. Quickly go elsewhere to take it off. Because on Shabbos, as we pointed out, it's only in Issa Darabanan. Don't tell him on Shabbos till he gets home, because you don't want him to get into this whole shayla. Tell him to come home quick. Then tell him take it off. If you can't get any tzitzis, then the weekday is like Shabbos. That's only in Issa Darabanan. Why? You don't have the potential to fix it. We'll just point out from these last few lines over here, you see that if you see your friend's tzitzis messed up, and now that we're learning Hilchos Tzitzis, I'm sure people are noticing, wait, the string's down, it's not on the side of the tassel, it's too loose, it's not tight, he's missing a knot. You see here, you certainly should tell your friends. Stories of Aaron Leib Steinman went over to a 4-year-old and started fixing his tzitzis. Of course, you should tell him. Here it just means on Shabbos because of the Isra you shouldn't. We'll pick it up in Simin Yadal the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.